Like to do is kind of born in a subconscious state, I guess, and I call it anytime and anyhow. I had done a performance in Pocatello, Idaho, and something that happened way in the background kind of got my attention, and I guess about 3 o'clock in the morning it said, "You got to get me down," so I did. I call it, like I said, anytime and anyhow. The sun was losing its battle as the coyotes began their song. When he rode across my yard, he was flogging that horse along. There's something about that rider that spoke of deja vu. I caught a glimpse of the past, and I hope that you do too. He reined in there beside me and rubbed his horse's ears. I nodded and said, "Howdy," as I eyed his cowboy gear. His hat was folded up, held on with stampede strings. It was the first that I saw of several familiar things. "It's quite a Stetson you got there, son. How'd you come by it?" "I took this from a rustler," he said. "I know it don't quite fit." "I think I have one like it," I replied, "hanging behind my door. I only use it at certain times, so it hardly ever gets wore." He watched my eyes move down his frame and settle on his vest. He said, "I took this from a gambler when I wore a star upon my chest. He cheated, but I caught him, hauled him off to jail. I can catch any crook alive," he bragged, "and I never ever fail." "Your chaps are dandies," I remarked. "Had some like them, a thing, though yours fit you like shotguns and mine are cowboy chinks." "Yeah," he smiled, "these are good ones. Got them from an old cowpoke. They're wattled on the bottom and they smell like Brandon smoke, but they work fine for me when I'm riding on the range, because I'm a cowhand now," he said, though his story sounded strange. His horse was getting restless, and it spun a time or two. I seen a flash of black and caught a flash of blue. Toes of those colored boots beneath those shafts were curled up like skis. Heels were worn and run over, but the leather looked soft as a breeze. Dust was settling around us from the ruckus of his horse, but I couldn't leave that gear alone, so I carried on, of course. "Those boots are pretty fancy for cowhand work, I'd say. Boots like that don't come cheap. About a year of cowhand pay." "I took these from a killer," he whispered, "that I put in old Boot Hill. He's robbed and shot his last banker. The last he ever will." I looked down at his mount and thought, I'm not one to hide, so I'll go ahead and ask him where he got that horse to ride. He said he roped him in the Badlands and broke him all alone, and they'd be together always, till to heaven one went home. "Son," I said, "you've done a lot of stuff for a man of your few years. You've been a lawman chasing crooks and a cowhand chasing steers. You got yourself an outfit from some pretty bad old men. I know it's not polite out west, but I'll ask you once again. How'd you come to do so much? Got to be a lesson here for all us normal cowboys with normal cowboy gear. So what then can you tell me about all this stuff you got?" Strange look crossed his eyes, like there's something he'd forgot. He spun that horse around, he lit out for the gate, hollered, "Grandma said that supper's on. Grandpa, now we're late." And he flogged that old stick horse I'd made until he threw it on the ground. My rustler's hat flew from his head and settled on its crown, while the gambler's vest I'd bought was discarded by the wall. My wad of smoky shaft slipped down and made that cowhand fall. He skinned his hands pretty bad as he slid plumb out of my old boots. I scooped him up and kissed his tears and blessed my cowboy roots, 'cause he was just like me. I'd done the same dang stuff, but my grandpa used to kick my butt, though he never kicked it rough. And I knew that I was loved then, as I so love mine now, and they can wear my cowboy gear anytime and anyhow. Well, I throwed him on my shoulders, and he spurred me for the door. And when he reined me in up there, a grin is what he wore. There's something about that rider that's oh so fresh and new. I've caught a glimpse of the future, and I hope that you have too. The thing I've learned about this is that while our ancestors give a man his roots, your own future is assured when yours come along to fill your old cowboy boots. Thank you.